Hey you, I'm Dave, and these are parts of a Halloween costume my son and I made for him years ago. It's hard to believe that he wore all this stuff at one point in time because he's definitely outgrown all of it by a lot. Anyway, we were cleaning out storage, and these are the parts that have mostly survived the years. So I wanted to see if I could do some kind of visual time capsule that's different than past projects like hanging up a helmet or part of a costume. Those projects are great, but this is more about my son at one point in time. So let's get to a time lapse of me sketching out ideas. All right, that went really quick for you. For me, I sketched all the parts out first because I just like having quick sketches of the parts on what I'm drawing, so then the proportions of everything is kind of close to what it is, so then I don't mess it up in my head as I go further into sketches. So then after sketching out the parts, I did some sketches of all the things together and how they related to one another, and I really quickly figured out that the gloves aren't necessary for this. They were something that we bought for the costume, but they weren't like a thing that we made together. Because this isn't about showing all the parts that survived storage, it's about highlighting the costume that my son wore. The gloves aren't that big of a deal, so the gloves are going to go. And then the angle of the bottom of the belt buckle, I started liking repeating that. I did more sketching than necessary because for me, sketching is a way to explore the idea. I know some people figure it out in their head and then they go from there. That's not the way I'm built. I will have a general idea, and then by sketching I can refine it. And then I'm going to refine it even more before I go to building it with wood. I'm going to go from the sketch to doing it with cardboard. Going with cardboard is cheap, fast, easy, and it really, depending on the thing, it just doesn't add that much more time. And it's worth seeing if there's anything I missed sketching, so then I don't regret jumping right to wood right away. I'm really glad that I did the cardboard step in this project because it gave me enough time to remember that we have photos of my son from this Halloween. So why wouldn't that be a part of this project? So I just quickly printed it out at size to make sure I like the scale and the proportions of everything. And then I also ended up echoing the bottom angle, repeating that up top. I like the way this looks. The proportions are good. It looks nice, but it's still simple. Like the main thing is still the parts. And then off camera, I figured out the shape that this hook needed to be so it would fit in the helmet and hold it right. So it was basically just, I put it in here, marked where it wasn't hitting right, pulled it out, made some adjustments to make sure that there isn't any wobble, which I was getting. It was wobbling from like side to side. Just to make sure that I wasn't going to be getting that, I did the same thing with this piece. So then these connect together, and then they go in there, and it's good to go. These are going to be the parts that I take and cut them out of wood. Everything got cut, and if you notice, I added an angle to this back part. I did practice on a scrap piece of wood, and I like the way it looks, so I just did it to the whole thing. These guys got cut, and I'm not quite sure if I'm going to glue these together or screw them together. I think we're going to go with screw because then if I have to take them apart for whatever reason, it's easier. Well, I can take them apart. If they're glued, they're not going to be taken apart. And then the same thing with this guy going into here. So everything got sanded down. There was some old paint on this. I didn't quite know how well it was sticking to the wood, so I just figured I'd sand it all down so I didn't have to deal with it. And then while I was sanding, I just softened up these guys a little bit. What's left is make all the connection points and then paint everything. My son's pictures being back printed onto acrylic. It's the exact same process for the pictures that got done for my father-in-law a few episodes ago. Waiting for that to come in. So once I have that, these are all painted. Everything will get assembled. I'll add some hardware to the back of this so then it can be hung on a wall, and then it'll get hung on a wall. That's the plan. Let's do one last montage.